Welcome to SiftPop Weekly live on YouTube. Thank you so much for joining us. I think we're finally getting the hang of this, Andrew.
A little bit, yeah.
A little bit. This is the time, if you are joining us live, pop your comments in the chat, ask us questions. This is the YouTube-focused moment of what we do every week, because then we get into recording the podcast, and then it's an audio podcast, Andrew. I don't know if you knew that.
No.
Even though it's also
a video podcast.
A video podcast.
Yes.
Because it works both ways. So, yeah, let us know in the chat. We're here for you. We're going to have a threefer.
Yeah.
We don't often do threefers. This time of year.
It's that time of year.
Yeah, this time of year we get into some threefers.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we've got three movies: Marriage Story, Uncut Gems, and Jumanji. The Next Level.
Yes.
Are the three that we'll be chatting about. So, you excited?
Yeah.
That's pretty much the whole show, is just talking movies today, which is fine. We do have some Do We Care, though, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we'll do Do We Care, and then we'll finish off with our buried treasure. But other than that, we're just going to be doing some reviews.
Yeah.
Joel Astoria in the chat says, I can't believe I actually get to watch this live.
I can't believe we get to record it live.
Well, we do that often.
Yeah.
So I don't know why you're having trouble believing that.
Every time it's magical, Aaron. Every time. Every time.
It's a fair point. That's a fair point.
Yeah, I saw a lot of movies this week, man, including Knives Out.
Yeah. So we're going to record a Sift spoil on that then, too.
Yep.
So we can get your thoughts on Knives Out. What about Sift spoils for the movies we're doing today?
Well,
I think Uncut Gems. I think we definitely need a Sift spoil for Uncut Gems, right? Don't you think?
Yeah, it's pretty...
There's some stuff I want to discuss.
Yeah.
That would be spoilerish. I'm not sure about the others, really, though.
I think we're going to have to find out, where, if we agree or if we differ on these movies, and then based on that, we'll be able to decide.
Okay.
But for sure, Uncut Gems.
A lot of content.
Because I know we already have differing opinions on it based off of last week's podcast.
Yeah, because you know some of my thoughts on this stuff.
Yes.
And I know, Uncut Gems, we already know. Yeah, see, that's the interesting thing about the Uncut Gems conversation is we've already kind of had part of it.
Yeah.
So we'll just kind of continue it a little more in depth.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, you were pretty in depth actually last week. We may not have a lot to say about Uncut Gems other than the Sift spoil.
Yeah. Who knows?
Because I couldn't stop Andrew. Andrew was like, I'm going to tell you all my things about Uncut Gems.
I'm sorry. I really liked the movie.
All right. Well, we'll go ahead and get started. Thank you to those who are watching.
Yes.
Really do appreciate you joining us live on a Saturday afternoon. I know there's a lot of fun things you can do on your weekend, and that you would join us here on YouTube for that is pretty amazing. So
yes,
thank you for doing that.
Very appreciative.
And I think we're about ready, Phil. So I will count us down to the intro, and we'll just go for it. Doing the intro in 5, 4, 3, 2. Live from a bunker in the heart of the Ozarks, a podcast that would prefer a diamond-encrusted Luxo Jr., thank you very much. It's SiftPop. Get Adam Sandler on that right away.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Welcome to SiftPop Weekly. We're streaming live most weekends, are available to download later in your podcast feed, unless, of course, you're a patron.
Patrons get perks.
Patrons get those perks.
Woo!
I'm your host, Aaron Dicer, and he's the Eddie to my Milo. It's my co-host, Andrew Ormsby.
Ahoy!
Each week, we'll chat about movies, television, and whatever else from the pop culture universe is on our minds.
Meh.
How you doing, Eddie?
I'm good. Meh.
Meh.
I am. Between that two relationship, I am definitely the curmudgeon Eddie.
Yeah, right.
Oh,
yeah. I thought that was right.
No, you nailed it.
Yeah, I figured I was the Milo and you were the Eddie.
Yeah, you're black.
Well, I've got a little bit of soul in me.
Yeah.
A little bit of soul in me.
Apparently you had dreads
black.
and everything, and you never even told me.
I did, but now that you're conjoining it with this idea of being a person of color, I feel very uncomfortable. I have to be honest. I feel like we're getting into appropriation area here, and now I'm feeling self-conscious.
Well, hey, Vikings had dreads.
It was a Viking thing.
Yeah.
Honestly, when you're finding your own sense of style, right, and who you are, those things come from so many different cultures and sources, and black culture absolutely 100% influenced my sense of who I am, my sense of style, all that kind of stuff. Well, so I think that's fair, right?
Yeah.
Like, okay.
The 90s especially.
Yeah.
It was
I was
just-
a hip hop kid, man. Like,
Exactly.
it was a big part of growing up. So I think we just kind of look at it through different eyes now, and we want to be careful,
not to claim it.
Exactly. That's what it is, right?
Yeah.
So I'm just trying to listen and learn. That's who I'm trying to be.
Yeah.
100%. So
I'm just every single time I look at you now, I just imagine you with the Coolio. You remember how Coolio had the really weird ones that it looked like tree barks just go or tree trunks going everywhere?
Yeah.
That's what I imagine, but I know that's not what it was.
No, that is not what it was. They were more like waves hanging off the side. It was almost like a dread part.
Man,
A parting of
I need pictures.
I've got pictures. I can show you pictures.
All right.
We're going to have a great show today. We're doing
Yes.
a threefer today. Woo. 3 movies to get through on SiftPop today. We're going to do Marriage Story. We're going to do the new Jumanji movie, Welcome to the Next Level. And then we're going to talk further on Uncut Gems. Although I couldn't stop Andrew last week from going into all his thoughts on Uncut Gems. So we may not be a lot more to say.
Here's the thing. I didn't get to talk much last week because I hadn't seen like 90% of the movies.
Right, yeah.
When there was one I had seen, I was like, I know this.
Here are
I've
all my
seen this.
things.
Yes.
Yeah. So I tell you what we'll do is I do want to sift spoil on Uncut Gems.
Yeah.
So we will touch on it briefly for our 3rd movie during the episode proper. And then we'll go a little more in depth in the spoilers. So if you've seen Uncut Gems, we'll do a sift spoil on that
I don't
for
think
you.
anybody's seen Uncut Gems.
That'll show up in your feed.
It doesn't come out till Christmas.
That's true. That's
Yeah.
a good point. Why are we talking about it now? I thought it was out. I thought people were watching this. Oh, all right. Well, you can hold on to that until you can see it. That's this time of year, man. I get it's like obviously a place of, privilege here. I see these movies before they're out, and then I don't realize, like, I don't know. It's hard for me to keep track of when everybody else gets a chance to see them.
Oh, yeah, totally.
So, yeah. Well, anyways.
Regardless, we would have needed to talk about it anyway.
Yeah.
So.
And we'll do some buried treasure at the end as well, but pretty much it'll be just reviews today.
Yes.
You want us to kick us off with some Do We Care?
Every single week, I scour the internet to find out what is going on in the entertainment world. I pick 3 topics for us to discuss, and we must decide, do we care or not? Number 1, Weiss and Benioff are going to adapt the Vertigo comic series Lovecraft, which brings the work of H.P. to life.
Okay, the sense I get from you is that you are increasingly not a Weiss and Benioff fan. Like, you are increasingly suspect of their ability.
Suspect is the perfect...
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
cautious.
and I don't know. I tend to give people the benefit of the doubt, so it's hard for me to say, but I can see why people start to feel that way.
Yeah.
It's interesting. The Star Wars thing is no longer happening with them. That's been announced that they've kind of parted ways on any kind of Star Wars property. So tell me about this one. I don't know anything. Is this for Netflix? Because didn't they sign a big Netflix deal?
They did. I don't know if that's what this is for. Actually, I think this is going to HBO as well, if I remember the article correctly.
Interesting.
Yeah. Basically, what this is, it's Vertigo comic, which is based, of course, on H.P. Lovecraft, the godfather of horror and everything. And basically, what this series is about is if H.P. lived in the world he created. So like Cthulhu, all of his, creations, he lives in that world. So it's a good comic series. I'm not on the whole boycott D&D train or anything like that.
Yeah.
But cautious, I definitely would say, or skeptic, hesitant.
Yeah.
Nervous.
So, but are you interested in this property?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, so you'll probably watch it, and then you'll just be
100%.
like,
Yeah,
Weiss and Benioff, you ruined another thing I love.
Here's
or
the thing.
You'll be like, Weiss and Benioff, you geniuses, I should have never doubted you.
Here's the thing. As differing from Game of Thrones isn't a finished property where they had to, make stuff up.
Yeah.
This is a finished property, so... they have all the material they need.
So adaptation is the game, not necessarily invention.
Exactly.
And they've shown they can at least maintain interesting adaptation. You know, those Game of Thrones seasons that were
like
working
1 through 4.
Yeah, that were working off the material were definitely interesting. So
yeah.
But then it's a question of how much of that is the content itself and how much of that is them. And I'm not sure I know the answer to that question. I'm not sure I'll watch this. I'm not necessarily interested in this property.
You're not a horror guy, and HP is totally like straight up horror.
But I'm also not a Watchmen guy, and I now think this is one of the top 3 shows ever invented. So, like,
wow, your love for that the show
it
just
keeps going up.
Yeah,
every episode, I'm blown away even more. I cannot wait for the finale tomorrow.
Yeah,
yeah. By the time you hear this, the finale will be upon us, and if Lindelof sticks the landing, it will be a top 3 show of all time for me.
That's impressive, man.
Yeah, I'm loving it so much. So I say that to say, if you produce good work or work that appeals, to me, then I'm gonna love it, and it doesn't necessarily matter where it comes from. So we'll see.
Yep. Number 2, Archie Yates, who plays Jojo Rabbit's friend Yorkie.
It stole the show in Jojo Rabbit.
He really did. Will be our next Macaulay Culkin.
Our next Macaulay Culkin?
Yes, and Kevin McAllister.
Or our next Kevin McAllister, because those are 2 different things. One I wish upon him, one I don't.
Yeah.
Macaulay's been through a lot, man.
He has.
He's doing okay, right? Like, he's in Succession. Isn't that Macaulay in Succession? And am I thinking of somebody else?
That's his brother.
That's Kieran.
Yeah, Kieran.
That's Kieran, right? Yeah,
Kieran Culkin. Macaulay Culkin has a web series now.
Okay, he's doing okay though, right? Like, because I know for a while it was
pretty rough. I mean, he's the most famous child actor of all time.
It's interesting.
Besides, I don't know, would Shirley Temple?
Shirley Temple, I think, is who you would have to go to if you're going to go all time. Yeah.
Yeah. But Archie Yates, he's going to be our new Kevin McAllister because Disney already said they're going to remake Home Alone.
Mm-hmm.
And
of course they are.
Yeah.
It's a property.
Yes.
that they own.
Yeah.
Milk that cow, Disney. Milk it.
Yes, there isn't this is not my buried treasure, but there's a new Netflix series. It's called The Movies That Made Us. Have you seen this?
I haven't.
Yeah, it's a new documentary series about
I heard of it though, yeah.
All our famous movies from our childhood and stuff, like, and the behind the scenes of how the movie got made. And the first one I watched was Home Alone. And the roller coaster of production nightmares that movie went through.
Oh yeah,
is fascinating.
Lots of people getting irons in the face and
yes, yes. Oh yeah. So let's talk about that for just a possible, what this movie's going to entail.
And by the way, they announced more casting than just this role.
Did they?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, I think they announced 3 cast members. I'd have to look it up. I do not have it in front of me. But
you got the Wet Bandits.
I think. Cast? Yeah, I think so. I'm not sure. I'll take a look at it. But go ahead and talk about what you were saying.
So what I'm curious about is obviously, it's infamous now. Like all of the traps that Kevin McAllister set would have killed these 2 burglars 1,000 times over.
Totally.
Yes, like the paint cans to the face, like would have crushed their skulls and stuff like that. What do you think? Do you think they're going to keep up with that whole like immortal bandit thing, or do you think that they're going to tame it down?
I think Disney doesn't really have a problem with Looney Tunes violence. I see it in other of their properties. So I think it almost takes the edge off the violence in a way when you do it Looney Tunes style like that, right? Mm-hmm. So, it's bloodless. It's just, it's high impact. It's, it's meant for humor, not necessarily for grossness or shock. So, I absolutely think that he will murder them with... It's 2 things, right? 2 things. The extreme Looney Tunes violence,
yes,
and the Rube Goldbergian traps, right?
Yes.
This is Home Alone. This is what you bring to us. If you want to have a successful Home Alone property, nail those things, and we're going to have a good time.
Do you think that, like in the beginning of the movie, like to set a precedent, they're going to have this Archie Yates building a Rube Goldberg machine? Just to Just like, oh yeah, so he knows what he's doing already.
Oh, I see. You mean just like a regular fun
thing that he's doing, you know?
Yeah, like the breakfast machine. And
I was literally just about to say this whole thing just to pour a box of cereal into the cup.
Yeah, exactly. They also cast Ellie Kemper, who you may know from The Office first, and then Girl in the Hole in the Ground. Yeah, Kimmy Schmidt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Girl from the Hole in the Ground.
Girl in the Hole in the Ground.
Yeah.
And then they also cast Rob Delaney, who I really like.
Really?
Who's very funny. So
Rob Delaney's great.
Yeah. So those are the casts that have been announced for Home Alone. But yeah, they're looking at several of these franchises to do. Night at the Museum, they're thinking about bringing back. Diary of a Wimpy Kid.
Now, you actually really loved Night at the Museum.
I did. Yeah, I do.
Do you think that we're separated enough from that property to where it needs to be brought back, or do you think we
needs? None of these need to be brought back, but I think people.
That's very true.
I think if people again make a good product, people are going to come to it.
Yeah,
that's how I feel.
Number three,
John
Wick 4 and The Matrix 4
right?
are both scheduled to come out on the same day. May 21st, 21. So Keanu gonna be a busy boy.
One of these will flinch, right? This is a game of chicken. They're not going to release two major Keanu Reeves movies on the same day. It's not happening.
I already know which one's going to flinch.
Which one's going to flinch?
John Wick.
That's what I think too.
Yeah.
Even though it's weird because Matrix hasn't been around for a long time.
But that's why. That's why, because we've
had plenty of John Wick.
We've had a lot of John Wick over like the last 5 years, something like that.
Right.
Whereas The Matrix, the last one came out in 2004, something like that. So yeah, we're coming up. It's going to be 16 years almost. I'm bad with math. Somebody help me out. But yeah, I mean, and it's a reprisal of one of the most infamous action sci-fi series of all time, where I don't think you can say the same thing about John Wick, where it's not rebirthing, it's just what we've already had just done really well. Yeah,
I'm really curious about the Matrix property. I hope it's done really well.
Yeah,
because I love that world. Yeah,
Keanu's coming back. Carrie-Anne Moss is coming back.
You know what's interesting though with the Matrix, and by the way, both the sequels came out the same year, 2003. One came out in May and one came out in November.
I remember the trailer.
Yeah,
which you probably don't remember.
No,
the trailer.
No. Although I was watching trailers back then.
Yeah, the trailer was for both movies.
Oh, yeah. I remember feeling like just release them at the same time. I remember feeling like that I didn't understand the gap, but it's been a long time. Again, that's 16 years ago. So
to fully understand the Matrix story, apparently you have to watch the first movie, watch Animatrix, watch the second movie, play the PlayStation video game, and then watch the final movie. And
I think the video game was on Nintendo system too, because I remember I thought I had it. Yeah. But it's one of those things where I was going with this was the Matrix already kind of disappointed us. So what's kind of nice about this is our expectations don't have to be, like every Toy Story movie that comes out, I'm like, oh, don't ruin the streak.
Yeah.
Somehow you made 4 amazing movies.
Yeah.
In this case, we already had our down movies. So
yeah.
It could be amazing and maybe not, but I'm excited to see where they go.
I just can't get enough of Keanu. Honestly, out of these movies, the one I'm most excited for is neither of them. I really want to see Bill and Ted. That's the Keanu movie that's at the top of my...
Whoever's producing Bill and Ted should have announced the same release date.
Oh,
just make it sound serious, but just do it as a joke or whatever, then change it. Because you can change those things at any time.
You know what? And I'm going to stick with this. I think that if they did that, like they had all 3 movies, I think Bill and Ted would actually be the one to make like the biggest.
Do you think so?
I really do.
Well, I mean, it could be a fun contest anyway. They don't have to come out on the same day to think about, which one makes the most money. But
yeah.
No, I think if they market that Matrix movie like I think they're going to, I think the Matrix movie is going to make more money than either of the other two.
Yeah.
But I could be completely wrong. It is Keanu's world.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're just living in it.
Whoa. Well, man, hey, that's going to wrap it up for Do We Care?
Very nice. We got some movies to review, Andrew.
A couple.
Let's kick it off talking about Marriage Story. Phil, are we doing previews? No. Okay, cool. I forgot where we landed on that.
Yeah.
Note to self, edit this out of the podcast. All right, let's talk about Marriage Story. A stage director and his actor wife struggle through a grueling coast-to-coast divorce that pushes them to their personal and creative extremes. That's a nice way to say it.
Yeah.
Noah Baumbach bringing us Marriage Story, who I think has been on a pretty good streak. I've really enjoyed his movies recently.
Yeah.
We can take a look at those. You've got Scarlett Johansson here. You've got Adam Driver. What did you think? Did you like it? Dislike it? Hate it? It was just okay? Love it? I think I named them all.
You did. Like it, love it, hate it, just okay.
Yeah.
I love this, man. This movie is good.
I'm right there with you.
Yeah.
Absolutely love this movie.
Yeah.
This will be in my top 5 of the year.
Yeah, it is me too. I think it's number 3 or number 4 right now.
Yeah, I think I've got it at 3 or 4 right now. And the only really pending thing I can see upending it is, Star Wars. If that's amazing, possibly could land in my top 5. But man, this movie's good. What did you love about it? Because I talked about it just briefly last week. But tell me your thoughts on Marriage Story.
From beginning to end, I should preface by saying I am not a child of divorce, nor have I really, had to deal with anything like that.
This is a great point.
Until this movie, because this movie makes me feel like I just went through a divorce.
Right. Thank you. Yes. I think that is very good for us to say. Neither one of us are children of divorce.
Yes.
My parents are still together. Both my parents lived long married lives. My wife's parents have lived a long married life. None of our siblings have been none of my siblings have been divorced.
Yeah.
So I am very unfamiliar with this process until watching this movie. Yeah. And man, this is what's incredible about this movie for me is the pain that's in this movie is almost beautiful. And what I mean by that is the pain is very representative of the depth of love. And that's what's weird here is this is a love story. It really, I've heard people say this isn't a marriage story, it's a divorce story. And I get that because it is a divorce story. But at the same time, they had a real, loving, deep marriage. And when they decided not to be married anymore, they were trying desperately not to let it destroy them. And the entire system is designed to destroy them. Yeah. And it's just, that's the villain in this movie, right? The system is the villain.
It's a commentary on the system, this movie, and what it does to you. Because I don't think it's spoilers to say that in the beginning of the movie, they want this to go amicably, just to, hey, we don't really need lawyers, we can do this. But by the end of it, just by hearsay, speculation, everything that, like you say, the system builds around you, it just, what it does to these people, it's soul crushing. Yeah. And it's exhausting. Yeah. Even watching this movie, it exhausts you just because of the amount of stress that you see these people going through. Yeah. Can we talk about performances? Because
that's the other thing that launches it up there for me, and I think it's what sells the movie. Yeah. But yes, please talk about the performances.
I mean, Scarlett Johansson's working on another level, which I don't think I've seen her. I don't think she's ever.
She does great work. Yeah, but this is some of the most human work. Some of her great work is. In movies where she's not human, literally not human.
Her.
Yeah, her. Yeah. Or what's the really crazy one where she walks in the water? I can't remember what it's called.
The naked alien movie.
The naked alien movie, yes. Yeah. So, but this one, she is so human and it's so real and authentic. Yeah, she's doing great work.
And Adam Driver, man. There's a scene, and I think you alluded to this last week.
I did. The scene in this movie.
It's just the meltdown. And I mean, he's like, give me my Oscar.
Now, let me ask you this. I know you're a huge Joker fan, and we're both fans of Joaquin's performance.
Yes.
Is there a possibility you think Adam Driver is doing better work than Joaquin did in the Joker even?
No.
I mean, and they're very different, right?
They're very different.
I think I tend to agree with you, by the way. I think Joaquin is doing something even more difficult than Adam's doing here.
But I don't want that to sound like I'm just brushing aside what Adam Driver...
No, of course not.
Because...
I was just curious.
Honestly, like we say this every single time, any other year, you know, any other year, if this guy hadn't done what he did, or if this girl hadn't done what she did, you know, then yeah, he would be a shoo-in. He's got to get a nomination though.
Oh, for sure.
I mean,
I don't think that's in question.
It's insane how good they both are in this. Both of them have got to get nominations. Everything about this movie deserves nominations, honestly.
I was very impressed by their performances. I bought in. I was weeping during a few scenes in this movie. Two specifically, the scene that in question, the meltdown. Yeah. And then the end of this movie.
Where they're reading something.
The reading, yes. Is just... And again... I think I've said this often. It was something I was taught by one of the first people to kind of get me into watching movies and how to watch them and how to, think about them deeper. But they said that if you want to know what a movie is about and you want to know what the director wants you to feel or think about their movie, pay very close attention to how they end their movie.
Yeah.
And I think you're seeing what Noah Baumbach wants this movie to be with that bedroom reading scene.
Yeah.
And it is, boy, it's beautiful. Heart-wrenchingly beautiful.
Yeah. Also, from the movies that I've seen that have dealt with divorce, a lot of it comes from the perspective of the child, whereas this one really is about how, the parents are affected by what they think will affect the child, if that makes sense.
Sure. And the child has a journey here. It's not as if the child is forgotten.
Exactly, but honestly,
it's not the center of our perspective.
It's the marriage story, not the family story. It's the marriage story.
Correct. Yes. Thank you.
Yeah. Whew, this movie's good.
I think it's interesting, too, because it's so focused on the marriage and not necessarily the perspective of the child. You see how the child is used in this system as well. Yeah. And it's perverse. Like, it's just the idea of...
Oh, you mean like how the system treats the child like an asset as opposed to a person.
And I know this intellectually. When I think about it, I know that's how divorce can go. But seeing it so realistic, and seeing Alan Alda and Ray Liotta and Laura Dern play these lawyers, and you're just like, oh man, what awful people. And at the same time, they're just doing that's their job, is to be awful. It's heartbreaking.
It is heartbreaking.
It's heartbreaking.
But I couldn't help but smile every single time Alan Alda was on screen, because
there's a moment he orders lunch. And in ordering lunch is the most mundane thing you could think of.
Yeah.
And yet it's so meaningful to what the movie is saying in that moment about this is their entire world. And he wants to know what roast beef sandwich you want. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I just think this movie is genius. And I think it must have come from a very personal place.
Yeah, I am very curious to see where Noah drew from. Did he write this as well? Or is this just... Okay. So, just guessing here, but if he is not a child or,
Well, he's been through two very public divorces.
Has he?
Yeah.
Okay. So I was going to say, if he wasn't familiar, but he obviously is, then this is beyond impressive. But since he is familiar with it, I think that is why he's able to make this so real.
I think so too. I think I kind of don't like this. I'll put it out there because I know it's part of the discussion. And obviously he's dealing in a very personal way with these things. So he's kind of putting it out there too.
Yeah.
But people are trying to guess, which part of this couple is him and Jennifer Jason Leigh?
Yeah.
And which part of this couple is him and Greta Gerwig? Like so there's that game, they're kind of that meta game going on where people are like, I wonder if this is a story from his actual, marriage. I don't think it matters. I just think you look at the story on screen for what it is and go that route.
Another pro I have for this movie, because I really don't think I have much of cons.
There aren't many, are there?
Yeah.
No.
I love that this movie isn't fully on one person's side.
Now, there are people who will disagree with you.
Personally,
I agree with you.
Yeah.
But I've definitely heard people say both sides, actually.
Personally, I tend to lean more one way than the other and quote unquote blame somebody.
Right.
But there's also moments where I'm like, okay, yeah, but that didn't help,
Yeah.
But yeah, I do lean more one way.
I don't. I really honestly don't. And I guess I'll get personal just for a second. Not too personal, although I'm kind of an open book on a lot of this stuff. But I don't lean one way or the other simply because I lean the way of, man, I wish they could work this out. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's this thing in me that's like, this is really hard to talk about because you can start talking about it and sound judgmental towards other people's relationships, the very real and authentic trauma that other people have gone through. You don't want it to
come across as like you didn't try hard enough.
Exactly. That's not what I'm saying. But I know in my own personal life where my priority and my gumption is, and then I compare myself to what they're going through.
Yeah.
And when I look at them and I go, okay, who was more right than wrong?
Yeah.
I go, you're both wrong. You're both wrong. You both did some really stupid things. And you're also maybe both, and this is where it starts to get a little judgy, and I apologize. You're also maybe both wrong for not continuing to give grace and try to find solutions. And so like, that's my journey that I go through when I watch it. So, yeah.
It's just one of the things where you have a story like this, you can't help but put yourself in it and ask yourself what you would do in this situation.
Correct.
And I think that's more, I shouldn't say more prevalent, but it's something for people like us who haven't gone through it that we are trying to understand. So we just put ourselves in that situation and are like, well, what would I have done? Well, what would I have done?
Yeah.
And I'm sure that there are people who have gone through this and they're like, yep, I know exactly what that's like. I know exactly what that's like. And I know what they're feeling, I know.
And this is a testament to a good film too, right?
Yes.
That many people with many different perspectives can come to it, see their own story, see a different version of the world, and then have great discussions about it. This opens up so many avenues to really think about humanity and relationships and what it means. And there's actually a very powerful line in this movie that I 100% disagree with. I almost consider it kind of what's keeping me from A+ range, just because I disagree with it so much. But that's just going to be part of it, right?
Can you say it without it being spoilerish?
I don't know that it's spoilerish. I do know it opens up a can of worms that I don't want to be taken out of context.
Sure.
And so I guess I'll say it. And then if we have a personal relationship, we can talk about it in depth later. But for somebody who's just listening to this, you're just going to have to take my word that there's more depth here than what I'm saying. Does that make sense?
I gotcha.
So there's a line where he says, you shouldn't have been mad I slept with her. You should have been mad I had a laugh with her. I hate that line so much because I disagree 100%. There's a difference between having a positive, fun relationship with a member of the opposite sex and having an affair with someone. Those are different things. And I have grown up with the phrase emotional affair, and I think it's a very dangerous phrase. And I think it keeps men and women from having healthy relationships outside of marriages.
Yeah.
So anyways, there's more depth there. Out of context, I know there's but there's nuance there. Yeah. But that kind of tweaked me the wrong way when he said that. Because I think in the movie we're supposed to feel that and be like, that was the problem. He had a friend. Yeah. That was the issue. You can't have a friend. Anyways.
No, I'm right there with you.
Okay.
Because I when I heard that, I'm like, oh, maybe I just misheard it. Like but now that you're saying, I'm like, okay, I guess that is what he said.
Yeah.
So.
Anyhow, what else did you want to mention?
If I guess I could say one con, it's not a con for me, so I guess it's just a precaution, I guess. Mm-hmm. This movie can feel dry in some parts. it's a marathon. It's not a sprint. So you got to be in it for the long haul. But I think that if you sit with it, it's going to pay off big.
Yeah, I agree. I know I have very close co-working friends who hated this movie.
Really?
Because it was just, why would you want to sit through all this pain?
Yeah.
And with try not to be condescending or ageist, but they're young. I feel like this is a movie, once you've lived a little more life and seen a little more relationship and those kind of things, that the empathy will increase. So
those darn millennials.
Well, millennials are a little older now. It's actually Gen Z that's the youth these days.
Yeah.
So anyhow, I don't really have much else to say about Marriage Story. That's really all my positives and my one negative.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. Can't recommend no post-credit scene.
That'd be a little weird.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to Jumanji: The Next Level.
Yes.
When Spencer goes back into the fantastical world of Jumanji, pals Martha, Fridge, and Bethany re-enter the game to bring him home, but the game is now broken and fighting back. Everything the friends know about Jumanji is about to change as they soon discover there's more obstacles and more danger to overcome. What did you think? Jumanji: The Next Level. The Rock is back. Yep. Jack Black is back. Pretty much everybody's back with the addition of Danny DeVito and Danny Glover coming in as well. Awkwafina. So what did you think? Did you like it, love it, dislike it, hate it, or it was just okay?
I really liked it.
Yeah?
I really liked it. Yeah. What about you?
High side of liked it?
Yeah.
I think I'm on the low side of liked it.
Okay.
Or even high side of okay. I came out firmly in the, that was okay. Yeah. And then the more I think about it, I think maybe I was not in a great mood. Maybe I wasn't.
Maybe you just watched Marriage Story and you're like,
no, it wasn't that.
Nothing is joyful anymore.
It wasn't that. I think I was in one of those moods where all of the seams were showing to me. It was one of those moods where I was just being overly critical. And I get there sometimes. I just having an honest moment with you. Sometimes I'm just not in the mood to watch a brainless movie. And this is kind of a brainless movie.
Maybe the fact that I watched an even more brainless movie right before I saw this one kind of padded, and I was like, oh, okay, yeah, there's some substance here. Yeah. So, but no, I had a really good time. I don't think it's spoilers to say that some of the roles have been changed, and they led to some hilarious, just shenanigans.
Well, I think we even said this in our Jumanji review when we had it the first time.
That you think that this is perfect for
sequels, because you just switch their roles.
Yeah.
Now, the movie does something in this that I think is rather spoilery, so I'm not going to say what, but I think you already know what I'm talking about based on the context of our conversation.
Yeah, and if you've seen the trailer, you know.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Stupid trailers.
Yeah.
I can't believe that's in the trailer.
Yeah.
Anyhow, man, this happens at least every other episode where you tell me something's in the trailer and I get angry.
Yeah.
Anyhow, it does something regarding the switching of roles that I think is a huge cop-out and a huge convenience. And the way it happens in the movie is ridiculously convenient.
Yeah.
These are the kind of things I'm talking about when I say I just was out. I was just
in a mood.
I was in a mood. I was just like, that makes no sense.
Yeah.
And there's probably that kind of stuff in the first one. I just remember, I think the first one had benefited from my low expectations.
Yes.
And this one does not benefit from the fact that I liked the first one so much.
Exactly.
So, but anyhow, yes. So it allows for kind of some fun in that regard.
And the fact that, it's not the same game. It's different, so it's not like we're feeling like I feel you get a sense of yes, I've been here before, but at the same time you are intrigued and excited about all these new areas and sceneries and characters that you're getting to meet and stuff.
Who do you feel of the cast does the best at being embodied by the different players?
Jack Black.
100%, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter who is in the Jack Black character.
Yeah.
He's nailing it.
Yeah.
I think he's great.
Yeah.
I was impressed with him in the first one.
Yeah.
And I'm even more impressed with him after this one.
Yeah.
On the other side of things,
Kevin Hart's. Oh, no.
Kevin Hart's fine.
Yeah.
I think The Rock. I was like, no, sorry, Rock.
Yeah.
This one you do okay. This one not so much.
Aquafina was pretty good.
She was great. Yeah, for sure. And Karen Gillan's great too. I'm really enjoying. I've been a Karen Gillan fan since Doctor Who.
Yeah.
And it's been really fun to see her kind of transition into a big movie star, being in the Marvel universe and the Jumanji, and she was on a TV show that I really liked that didn't have much of a life to it too. I can't remember what that was called. I think it was based on a property.
All I remember for her from is Doctor Who, the girl who waited. Is that what she was?
Selfie. Did you ever see Selfie?
No.
Okay, so Selfie was this. I would encourage. I don't even know if it's available anywhere to stream or whatever. But I really enjoyed Selfie. The pilot was pretty good. Next couple episodes were finding their feet, and then they kind of hit their groove just as they got canceled, which happens with a lot of these younger shows. But it was her, and then the guy was John Cho. John Cho played the guy, and I'm telling you, this show was really good. It was basically kind of a modern take on My Fair Lady, where the John Cho character was Professor Henry Higgins-ish and trying to teach this millennial, how to approach the world. And Karen Gillan was the millennial.
Huh.
So I thought they hit their stride towards the end.
Yeah.
But anyhow, I'm glad to see her doing good work.
Yes.
And I think she's good here.
Yeah, but I totally agree with you 100%. Jack Black is so versatile. I guess we could kind of slip into cons.
Sure, if you've got a con that's weighing on your heart that you need to get out there.
I think that the ending of this movie is very lackluster. Not like ending, but like the conclusion,
the resolution,
yeah,
totally agree.
Yeah,
it's not only lackluster, and maybe this is part of the lacklusterness. Is it's obvious. There's just an obviousness to it. There is an aspect to it that is. It just doesn't live up to the rest of the movie. It just kind of happens.
Yeah, it happens. You're like, oh, I guess that's it. Because you're thinking to yourself like, okay, this is going to be the penultimate scene. You're like, then the next scene after this, like the next set piece, that's going to be the finale.
Right.
But that's not what happens. You're like, oh, I guess this is it. So, okay.
Yeah, really I guess the main, I guess there's two parts to the main finale, which is one, Jack Black finds a modern tool in his bag of tricks to play to the strengths of one of the characters.
Yeah.
Combined with another character just having a fight with the main bad guy.
Yeah.
And then that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
Other than a reveal I knew was coming for about 30 minutes.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I knew that too. I'm like, I wonder, unless lasers are going to shoot somewhere, then
they just made it so obvious when he hit the horse and the screen came, but they didn't show you the strengths and weaknesses screen. I was like, I know what that horse is.
Yeah, you don't need to try and fool me here.
Right? Yeah, exactly.
There are emotional moments in this movie, I will say.
I'm trying to remember them. Emotional. Like the Milo and Eddie stuff.
The Milo and Eddie stuff. That's it. Yeah.
Yeah. Although I was kind of out on Danny DeVito from the beginning. I was not buying him really in this movie.
Really?
Yeah.
I know that guy. Not Danny DeVito, but this person that he's portraying.
Yeah,
like, I know that person.
I guess maybe I just don't. Maybe I just don't know that guy.
That guy's fun. You should find that guy. I'll introduce you to that guy.
I know the Danny Glover guy. His guy was very much like my mom's dad when he was around. Yeah, and I'm gonna be that kind of old guy. Yeah. I know 100%. I'm gonna be that kind of just steady, takes forever to say anything, not in any kind of hurry. That's me. That's gonna be me.
That's
totally.
Funny. My dad's dad was Danny DeVito. Yeah, I'm like,
nice.
As soon as I saw him, I'm like, oh.
Too bad our grandparents didn't have a restaurant together.
Yeah, I know.
Been amazing.
No, my grandpa would have driven your mom's dad crazy. Unless your mom's dad is like very, very patient.
He was.
Oh,
He was.
nice.
He would also, one of my favorite things that he would do, if you were ever riding in the car with him,
Yeah.
he would read every single sign on the side of the road, no matter what it would be. He'd just say what he saw in just this way. It'd be like, mile marker 339. 339.
He even had the slow talk.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
that's great.
He was the best.
That is one of my favorite lines from this movie. Did he die because I talk slow?
He always said that would happen.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to talk about with Jumanji the next level?
If you like the first one, and by first one I mean Welcome to the Jungle, I think you'll like this one. I really do.
Yeah.
I went into this wanting to have a good time.
Did you laugh?
Yes.
Yeah, I think there's some laughs here. Did you enjoy the action?
Yes.
See, that's the thing. That's where I go, okay, this movie probably deserves to be on the low side of liked it rather than just the high side of okay. Because it really is entertaining. It is an entertaining
Very
film.
entertaining
There's laughs here, there's action here. It just doesn't make a lick of sense in a lot of areas. So that's my big thing.
I think that
and I'm not talking about suspension of disbelief. I know we're going into a video game. I get that. I'm saying
the convenience of...
Yes, all the plot movements and conveniences and it was a little much for me.
I'll just say, just to be as close as I can to where you understand, but separated enough to where people who haven't seen it don't. There's Freaky Friday-ness going on here that's just there for some reason, I guess, if you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, fine.
Yeah.
Sure. I don't know why we had to do this in the first place. Or, I understand why we did it in the first place, the changing of roles and stuff, but why go down this path with water and stuff like that?
I will also say that this movie ends, not because there is a post-credits scene. Stole your...
you did.
Stole your thing.
Which I liked.
I did too, because it gave me hope that the next one's going to be different. Yeah. And it's exactly the kind of different I was hoping they would rectify or wrestle with. They needed to wrestle with why the game is doing what it's doing compared to what it did before, right? Like that, something needs to happen.
This was an obvious sequel.
Right.
Like, obvious in the fact, like, this was going to eventually be what the sequel, like the changing of roles and stuff like that, going back into the game and stuff. But the way this movie ends, it makes you go, oh, okay, I'm all right with this. Because I don't think we would have wanted a third going into...
We've done what we can do with that, especially considering what you decided to do inside of the game this time. Not that ending, but the ending right before that. There's a choice made. Let's just say before they exit the game, there's a choice made by one of the characters. That choice has some real world ramifications that this movie never wrestles with that I can't stop thinking about. And that's
actually the emotional moment I was talking about.
Sure. I guess I just didn't connect to it the same way you did. My brain was thinking back to the real world and how is that
going
explained,
to affect,
dealt with, affect people? Like I don't know. It reminded me of the dusting, actually. It reminded me of like in-game Infinity War conundrums where it's like, yeah, okay, I get it plot-wise, but at the same time, we're not really dealing with this.
Yeah.
So I'd just say that. I'll throw that out there as well. Overall, still a recommend for me.
Yeah.
Sounds like even more of a recommend for you.
Like I said, if you like the first one, I think you'll like this one too. I think I'm still going to say Welcome to the Jungle is better, though.
Oh,
just because
I would say that 100%.
Yeah, but I feel like I was like, I'm ready to get back into this world, and I think that this movie was there to welcome you with open arms. It's like, if you loved it, then come back on. Let's go for another ride. And I had fun, man. This is a fun movie.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Before we head on to our final review of the episode, just a reminder that SiftPop happens because of amazing people just like you who choose to be SiftPop members. We really appreciate our members. They make this live YouTube show happen. They make the podcast be able to continue. They help defer the cost of being able to see movies, equipment, all that kind of stuff. Thank you so much for your membership. If you go to patreon.com/SiftPop, you can be a SiftPop member for $3 a month. There's different levels. different perks that go with each level. We've got a SiftPop Hangout that's coming for people who have that perk at their level. That's coming this week, where I just sit for half an hour and answer your questions live. And that's fun. I can't wait for that. We also have bonus episodes we record, and that's for all SiftPop members of any level. Get our weekly bonus episode, which is just Andrew and I chatting about something else.
Rando.
So we will be doing that. If you're interested, again, check it all out at Patreon. Patreon.com/SiftPop. All right, so Uncut Gems is our last review.
Yes.
As stated last week, we kind of reviewed it. You really...
I reviewed it.
You gushed all over it.
Yeah.
And I said I wasn't as into it.
Yeah.
So apologies if we repeat ourselves a little bit, but please know this. We're going to record an Uncut Gems Sift Spoil.
Yes.
That will go a little bit more in depth, but just to cover the bones of the review.
Yeah.
Did you like it, love it, dislike it, hate it, or was just okay? How much did you love it?
I really did love this movie. As time has gone on, I understand why. I understand that Safdies are an acquired taste. Their films are an acquired taste. If you watch this, or is it Good Times or Good?
This is the only one I think I've seen.
Really, you haven't seen the Robert Pattinson one? Just off the top of my head,
I'm not excited to.
Really?
Yeah, I don't think I jive with them.
Yeah,
I don't think
which
we're
I
on
totally get
on the same wavelength.
It's one of those movies where you have to know the type of person you'd recommend this to.
Isn't this movie anxiety inducing for you?
Very much so.
Okay, but that's okay.
In a good way.
Can you explain that to me? I don't mean to get too personal. I know you've dealt with anxiety stuff, and we've talked about it publicly.
No. There's anxious, and then there's anxiety.
Okay.
You know, anxiety is a whole new.
But can one trigger the other? Like, have movies, or are they completely separate? I'm talking from a place of ignorance, so I'm trying to learn.
I'm trying to think, because I know, there's a bunch of people who have had issues with, the new Joker movie,
Sure. Well, and everybody's different, too. Like, you talking about your own experience with anxiety could be completely different than somebody else's.
Yeah. Weird things trigger my anxiety.
Okay.
Whereas this is, I know I'm separated from the material I'm seeing, so I know it has no effect on me.
Okay.
Whereas...
So you're just experiencing the normal suspense that the rest of us experience. You're not experiencing any kind of internal...
Yes. I'm not feeling any danger towards myself.
Right.
Yeah. But this is just a level of stress-inducing stuff that I'm feeling vicariously, because I think Adam Sandler's doing such a good job of, portraying this gambling addict, where I'm like, oh, Adam, you got to stop, buddy. Stop. Please stop.
No.
Why are you doing this to yourself?
Yeah.
I think that he is phenomenal. This is one of probably his best performance he's ever given. It's a fascinating look into this world, this New York Diamond District, and the goings-on and how everything works there. Fascinating characters. You got KG in here. He's just...
That's my favorite part of the movie.
Really?
Not necessarily his performance.
They have actual people playing themselves.
Well, the way he's integrated into the plot and his competence with his performance, he's not going to get nominated or anything. People have talked about...
think?
KG?
Yeah.
No.
No.
People have talked about LeBron being good in movies, and I've never seen it. I've just been like, he's athlete good. He's not good. You know what I mean?
I think that
KG's a good actor. He's good at playing himself, at least, which maybe that's something different. But here's the main thing. He didn't take me out of it at all. And
you're not like, ooh, I get to watch Garnett on screen.
For as much of a part as he is in the plot, that's saying something.
He's moving for the plot. He's not a what would you call it?
A cameo?
A cameo.
Yeah, he's not a cameo.
No. He's an integral
character.
part of this story.
Absolutely. I agree.
Yeah. Lakeith Stanfield is great.
As always.
Yes.
Name me the bad Lakeith Stanfield performance.
It's impossible. I will say that there is a cameo in this movie that I feel is not worth it, and that's the whole Weekend thing.
Oh, okay. I wondered if you were talking about The Weeknd. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's cool, but at the same time,
but that does feel like a cameo, and
to
it
me,
feels
it does.
forced.
Yeah,
And well, I should say the part his integration into the story feels forced,
yes.
whereas KG's doesn't to me for whatever reason.
Now, a thing that the Safdies are known for doing is, like, why would we hire an actor to portray a certain person if we can just hire that person to portray what they already do? So
Sure,
them
I understand that, yeah.
So them going like, well, why don't we just hire the people who work in the Diamond District to play themselves? Or if we're going to have an athlete, why not get Garnett to play himself? Or if you're going to have a musical artist, why not get a musical artist like The Weeknd? But it was just that scene in particular felt like, hey, we got The Weeknd. Here's The Weeknd, as opposed to The Weeknd scene actually being an integral part of the story.
Yes. Anything else on the positive side you wanted to expand on?
Soundtrack. Soundtrack is so good.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you're right. No, I think you're right.
If you're a fan of like that synthy kind of, I guess the closest thing you can compare to is Drive, the Ryan Gosling movie, you know, like that synthy kind of cool, trippy. It's a weird combination of how they mix that with this whole New York kind of, you know, vibe, because you wouldn't think like, you know, 60s synth with modern New York would kind of work, but I think it really does. I think that maybe it's the psychedelic colors that they are using all the time, you know, like looking through the diamonds to see all the possible colors, you know. I think that can kind of possibly lead to that trippy synth soundtrack, but I just think the soundtrack is great. It's probably my favorite part of the movie besides Adam Sandler's performance.
I have one negative I'll mention here, and then I think the rest is going to wait for the spoiler for me, because a lot of what I want to talk about has to do with specific story details and how, and my feeling as I was curious about not only their intent in the story they're telling and in what they're trying to say and those kind of things, which you know is very important to me.
Yeah.
But also in my journey with this character and certain things in the story that made me feel certain ways that I can't really get into without spoilers. The one negative I will say, I can't remember if I said this last week. I may have. I think I did, actually. I feel like Idina Menzel is wasted.
Yeah.
I feel like, to a certain degree, Lakeith Stanfield is even wasted. Even though he is great in this, in the parts he gets, his role just seems undefined enough that I didn't feel like he was given any kind of real thing to put into the story.
Yeah.
Like there's nothing that character did for me that was like, that's how because it doesn't have to be about him. It's about our protagonist. It is absolutely 100% about Adam Sandler's character, right? Yeah. But there should be things about him that are informing what I learn about even Adam Sandler's character. And as sure there are, because they're connected in some ways, but I didn't feel there was any clarity on how that.
No, this movie is very much if you want the information, you really got to look for it on a character or...
Is it there, though?
I think...
Or is it purposefully not there? Maybe I can say that without spoiling.
It's a bit of both in the fact that it's like, we'll give you what we think is enough, but we're not going to give you like a backstory for every single character.
Which I don't need, but there's an element of trolling to that as a director, though. It's not hardcore trolling. Like, what was that zombie movie that came out this year?
The Adam Driver one?
The Dead Don't Die, or or I think it was Dead Don't Die.
Yeah.
That is a troll job. That whole movie is a troll job. I don't know if we've talked about it on the podcast.
I didn't want to see it.
But this isn't like that. But there is an element of, we're just not going to tell you because we don't think you need to know.
Yeah.
You know, and it's just like, yeah, but maybe it would have helped.
Yeah. I think that they're going for more of a in real life people don't give their backstories, like they don't talk about their backstories.
Sure.
And stuff. I think they're going for a sense of realism here. This movie does feel very real. I'm playing devil's advocate here.
No, totally.
But at the same time, I totally understand what you're saying. Like, yeah, people don't give their backstories, but at the same time, a little bit more information on who these people are.
Well, and even just
how they influence Adam's, journey,
his character's journey, and his character's story, and other than just being, because what great movies do is the surrounding characters to our protagonist or protagonists, if there are more than one.
Yeah.
What they do is they feel authentically human to the world, and you feel like you understand them in a way that informs your ability to go through the story. They're not just props.
Yeah.
And sometimes I felt like Lakeith Stanfield was just a prop. There wasn't anything important about him other than he was at this place at this time and that kind of thing. So, and again, it's a good performance. Lakeith does great work, but anyhow.
I like the fact that this movie doesn't really have technically, I guess Adam Sandler is the protagonist, but he's not our hero, because you're not rooting for him to succeed, you're rooting for him to stop.
Yeah. But why are you rooting for him to stop if you don't like him? If you're not rooting for him? Because rooting for him to stop is rooting for him, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Because you're hoping
so I think that makes
him
the protagonist.
You're wanting what is best for him, even if what is best for him is not what
That's
he
your
wants.
protagonist. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And his whole journey. I don't know if it's the fact that, maybe you can tell me, is Adam Sandler giving a great performance, period, or are we just like, oh, Adam Sandler can act and we're just surprised by it?
I don't think you can fully separate those enough to understand our own subconscious.
Yeah.
I think it's just like we talk about biases all the time and how they're just a natural part of what we do. I think the same thing applies when you're thinking of a comedic actress who's doing a dramatic role. So when Jim Carrey is amazing in Man on the Moon or whatever, there is an element of it. It's like, that's Ace Ventura. And he just became another person.
Yeah.
That's just an element of it. And I think that's true with Sandler as well. I think he's giving a great performance here. I was just thinking, why don't I say great or good? But
no, it's a great performance.
I think it is. I think it is a great performance.
Yeah. I just don't know if I'm like you said, I don't know if I'm putting it on another level.
Right.
Because, man, Happy Gilmore's pretty good in this movie,
Exactly.
Bobby Boucher is turning it up from being the water boy.
Anything else? Is there an end credit scene?
No, there is no post-credit scene. I will say, though, that the ending of this movie is what makes me love it. The conclusion of it all is what makes me just go, wow. That was worth the whole movie was just worth that ending.
100% disagree. Can't wait to talk to you in Sift Spoil.
Oh, man. This can be great.
It's my main negative.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I am.
And here's the thing. You might convince me, because I am well aware that I might be 100% wrong. Just currently, that's where I live.
When you say you think you might be wrong, what does that mean? I'm just curious. Can you
means the thing that I believe in my heart.
Yeah.
I think my head might be able to change my heart.
Okay.
Or the thing I believe in my head, that my heart might be able to change my head. That's what I mean when I think I'm right about something. A part of me thinks they know, but there may be this other part of me that can change.
Sure.
Is that too abstract, too weird? Don't we have different parts of us that we use to experience things, right? We've talked about this.
Yeah.
The brain, the heart, and the gut, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And you just got to decide which one you want to listen to.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. All I will say, though, is that I am that much more excited about our spoiler talk now.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. All right, let's finish it off with some buried treasure, Andrew. What's that one thing in any area of pop culture that you want to make sure people know about?
I'll let you go first.
I'm going to talk about Six Underground.
That is the other movie I saw. What did you think about this movie?
Okay, so here's the thing. Who knew that the problem with Michael Bay wasn't that he was Michael Bay, it's just that nobody let him be Michael Bay enough.
Really?
This movie is bonkers. Like this is one of those movies where it's like, okay, there's nothing substantial about what's going on here. I shouldn't say nothing. I think there is an attempt at a message about family and about what it means to value the humans in your life and the relationships in your life. That actually is here. There actually is a message here. It's very winked at, but it's here for sure. But this is a movie about cars flipping over and grenades going off and parkour and beautiful men and beautiful women and beautiful cars. I heard somebody say recently that Michael Bay sexualizes everything he puts in front of the camera, whether it be a car, a woman, a man, an explosion, a spaceship. It doesn't matter. He sensualizes it, or even sexualizes it, I think is even more accurate. And this movie is evidence of that. It's what Michael Bay did with a blank check. It's what Michael Bay did with no studio notes, a blank check, just left to his own devices. And I like it better than the Transformer movies that he's put out. And when I say like it, it's a weird thing to say, but like the visceral experience of it is just, I don't know if it's a dude thing in me or what it is, but I was just like, I don't know. Is that wrong?
I 100% hated this movie.
Okay. Tell me about it.
Yeah, calm down there, son. Oh, man, I hated this movie. Yes, I understand. Michael Bay being 100% Michael Bay is exciting in its own way, because you're rolling. There's a scene in this movie where there's a car chase where one of the cars in tow crashes into a fruit stand and sparks fly everywhere.
Metal apples.
Because if you didn't know this, people, in Florence, Italy, fruit is metallic.
Yes.
But there's so many things in this movie. This is going to be a rage rant where things are done and things are said solely for comedic purposes.
100%.
They have no ties.
100%.
There's a character named Raymond in this movie, and I was like, oh, where's Raymond going to show up again? No, he's there for one joke.
And that joke was hilarious.
It's a bad joke.
It was a hilarious joke. It was a hilarious bad joke.
Really?
Yes.
These they're not even one-note characters. They're half-note characters that are not defined even by their...
You're not telling me anything I don't know.
I know, but all this
other than the Raymond joke, I thought was really funny.
Stupid things that you love, which I can get why people...
I don't even know that I love them. I just experienced them and was just like... For me, it must be what people feel like when they lose themselves to the Raid movies or something like that, which I can't do.
No, don't compare these two.
No. I'm not comparing I'm comparing the experience of... I'm giving myself to this thing because it's so giddy and so over the top or whatever that I'm not concerned about whatever the plot is supposed to be or those kind of things. This to me it takes it to such a level that I'm like, I can't believe it's literally watching a car wreck.
You're watching 100 car wrecks.
Right.
Yeah. No, yeah. This was the other movie I said that I saw right before Jumanji. Walking into Jumanji, I'm like, oh, a movie with some substance. Yeah. So this is what films are supposed to look like. No.
Yeah.
No, I was hoping that Michael Bay Totally Unleashed would be so ridiculous I would have a good time, but I didn't.
Here's the other part, and this absolutely 100% plays a role in it, and I know this. Again, we just talked about biases, all that kind of stuff. I recently upgraded my viewing system, my TV, soundbar. I recently did an overall theater upgrade.
I'll watch this on my phone.
That might be part of the issue, both ways. You know what I mean? Like, it is so bombastic. The experience of it, on a beautiful big screen with a nice soundbar, full surround, Dolby Atmos. I was just like, I don't know. I was, Calgon, take me away. Whatever the opposite. Michael Bay is the opposite of Calgon. You get taken away the completely other direction. But you're right. You're 100% right. The things you're saying, other than the Raymond joke, which was hilarious. But other than that, you're 100% right. This movie is a big nothing burger of amazingness. It is. If you ever wondered what Michael Bay looked like without a governor, this is Michael Bay without a governor.
Yeah. I love that analogy, the governor. But I was hoping that, like, Totally Unleashed, I could just, say, hey, I'm going to turn my brain off and watch a big explosion movie. But I was like, there's not enough.
And you can't come back from that, too.
No.
Like, once your brain's there and you're like, quit wasting my time.
Yeah.
It's hard to come back from that.
Don't get me wrong. Like, Ryan Reynolds is Ryan Reynolds.
I mean, that magnet stuff, man. That was crazy.
It's so crazy. It's stupid.
Yes, exactly.
Which I know this movie is supposed to be crazy and stupid, but I needed to know enough about these characters to care.
Yeah.
And I
just let go of that so early.
I wanted to so bad.
Isn't it interesting?
Yeah.
I'm with you. I have that experience before. Like, so here's the different people.
Okay. Compare this to Fast and the Furious.
Okay, I was going to go to John Wick, but yeah, Fast and the Furious is fine as well.
Yeah.
This is very much a Fast and Furious kind of experience for me, where I realize I think the movie understands what it is, and so I'm willing to go along with it. I'm willing to say, okay, you know what you are, I know what you are. Yeah. Let's live together for 2 hours.
But I care about the people in the Fast and the Furious franchise. I care about The Rock and Vin Diesel and, Hobbs and Shaw, the whole thing. Like, I know and I care enough about these people to go on a ridiculous journey because I care what happens to them.
I guess, although for me, I don't care about them as humans, though. I care about them as superheroes. Like, they never seem human to me.
Are you talking about both movies?
Both movies, okay. Yeah. Yeah, so it's not something that's very human for me. The thing about John Wick, the difference that I wanted to bring him up, because people have heard me talk about not being able to connect as much to John Wick 3, even though I can recognize how much fun it is and what a great movie it is. The difference for me is the first John Wick was very much about character and story and response. And so, I feel like it has changed into something else that's fine if that's what it wants to be. I can go with it at some point, but that change, I have to go through that change too.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
No, I agree with you. With John Wick 3, I think what they were saying, which I don't think they should have done, I'm with you on this, is they're like, we gave you his backstory in the first two movies. You know enough about him. Now we're going to do a straight up action movie, which I think is what they were thinking, which I don't think they should have done. I really think that while that world is, fleshed out, it can be expanded upon more and be more interesting.
Yeah.
But with this movie, it gave me nothing, so I left with nothing.
Yeah. I at some point was in awe of the Michael Bay-ness of it all, and not in the way that we've already talked about, but in the way of he actually kind of has his own auteur style. Like
Sparks.
He has invented something that is emotionally kinetic that movies borrow from all the time, and part of me was like, oh, maybe I should respect Michael Bay more.
He can make good movies. Yeah. He's made several good movies. I think Pain and Gain is actually a good movie. I think 13 Hours is a good movie. The Rock is a fun movie. I love seeing Sean Connery and Nick Cage just going crazy. But then you have movies like The Transformers, this.
What are your thoughts on Armageddon?
I hate Armageddon.
Yeah, I don't mind it.
Yeah.
I have purposely not watched it in a long time. I'm afraid if I watch it again, I'll not like it. But,
I get that.
But I remember when it came out, I was like, this is fun.
Yeah.
So
it came out, when did that come out? 90.
I feel bad. I feel like there's part of me that feels ashamed that I can kind of give myself to whatever that gut thing. That's the gut part, right? Like that I give myself so much to the gut of this movie that my heart and head can just go whistle somewhere. I don't care. Like, my gut and I are having a good time. So there's almost a shame there that's like, I know I should want...
While you're trying to talk, I want to see more splodies.
Yes. Yeah. The fact that I have that in me is almost shameful in some ways. But...
I think that every now and then you need a movie like this to counter the heaviness and the thought process that goes into a movie like Marriage Story. Right. You need something at the other end of the spectrum to just go, I'm just going to turn off my brain. I don't want to try and understand anything. I just want to see something cool. And for some reason, maybe it just... there could have been, like you said with Jumanji, there could have been a day that I just watched this movie and I'm like, cool.
Yeah.
But it just wasn't that day for me.
Listen, the first 20 minutes of Six Underground are insane. Like, I mean, the whole movie is insane, but that first 20 minutes is, I've never seen anything like it.
It never lived up to that again for me.
I think there are moments, there are some falling building material type parkouring moments. There's a pool moment. There are moments I think it does live up, but it doesn't live up to it for that long. Like it is a full 20-minute opening,
transporter.
Here's what's happening. And also, I mean, it's also almost a complete short film. That first 20 minutes is pretty insane, including a well, I'm not going to spoil anything. But anyhow, welcome to our fourth review of the episode, apparently.
I will say, during that 20 minutes, I was like...
Buried Treasure has turned into a full review.
It really has, yeah. I will say, though, that after that 20 minutes, I'm like, I might like this movie. Because I thought that the movie was going to give me something more, but it never did for me.
Yeah.
But for you, it didn't need to. But that's good.
What's your buried treasure, Andrew?
My buried treasure is a Netflix documentary series called The Devil Next Door.
Ooh, what's this about?
So during World War II, in one of the Nazi concentration camps, there was a guard who was in charge of the gas chambers who was known as Ivan the Terrible. He's one of the most infamous and notorious...
I've heard the name.
Yeah. This is a different Ivan, not the actual Ivan the Terrible, not Dracula. Did you know that, by the way?
No.
Ivan the Terrible was Dracula. Or, no, that's Vlad the Impaler. Never mind. Sorry, historians out there. Vlad the Impaler was Dracula. No, Ivan the Terrible. But that was
Russian, right?
Yes. This is the nickname given to this particular
based
guard.
On the original, yes.
Based on the Russian. Yeah. What were they called?
Premiere?
No, they were...
It's okay. We get it.
It's going to be one of those things now where I can't continue until I think of it.
Here, why don't I look it up and you keep talking about this show?
Tsar. There's Tsar.
Okay.
He was a Tsar of Russia. Anyway.
You're my shining Tsar.
Oh, thank you, buddy. Nobody knows what happened to this guy after World War II. All of a sudden, this guy in Minnesota who is an immigrant, Detroit, is like, hey, that guy might be Ivan the Terrible. He might be this Nazi. And then this whole documentary goes into the trial where the U.S. extradited a citizen to Israel to stand trial to see if he was this Nazi. Whereas everybody that he knows, like, who lives in the U.S. is like, the guy's been working at the Ford plant for like a while and he's just the nicest guy. He works, he says hi, and he goes home, takes care of his family. And his family's like, he's never raised a hand to us. He's never done anything. But then they start showing you some information and you're like, it's very much Making a Murderer. If you liked Making a Murderer, you'll enjoy this one. So this whole time you're like, is this guy one of the most horrible people to ever exist or ever be born? Or is this one of the most heinous cases of misidentification ever? And it's a fascinating watch. I know where I land on it. I kind of think he is the guy. I think he's the Nazi. But at the same time, like, enough
Yeah, but you're not gonna... You can't accuse somebody on kind of think. You know what I mean?
That's exactly it. A good thing about this documentary, I think, is that it's not biased in any way, whereas I think Making a Murderer is trying to convince you this guy is innocent, where this documentary series is like, you got to decide for yourself. And it's not like trying to say like you have to decide, because you can't decide based solely on the information. Whereas this is like, we're going to show you what we put together, and we'll let you, in your citizen court, whatever you want to call it, decide what you think. We're not going to tell you he is or isn't this guy.
Yeah.
But it's a fascinating watch, man, because it's showing you, because it took place back in, I think, the 60s, or it was late enough to where survivors of this camp were able to stand trial. And that's really the most emotional part of this documentary series, is hearing the stories of the Jewish survivors of these camps and what they went through. And you could see the pain and horror that they're going through, and having to stand in front of somebody who might be the guy who did it to them.
Wow.
It's great.
Wow.
The Devil Next Door.
Devil Next Door. Well, check it out. Well, we did it, man.
Yeah, we did. 4 movies.
We casted a pod.
Yeah.
4 reviews. Didn't know we were doing 4.
Yeah.
But we ended up doing 4.
We're even going to do a 5th spoiler one. Are we going to do that this week or next week?
Yeah, I guess we should say before we finish out, please stay tuned in your podcast feed. We will be talking Knives Out, because Andrew has seen it. So we'll be doing a Sif Spoil on Knives Out, Sif Spoil on Uncut Gems, and I think that's it. I don't think we need a Sif Spoil. I kind of alluded to any kind of spoilery things for Jumanji.
Yeah,
or
Jumanji and Marriage Story, for as much as we love them, I think that there's not much to really...
Yeah, I think we're good with those. Yeah. So thanks for joining us today on SiftPop. It is part of the Studio DNA Podcast Network. You can find out more about other shows on the network at studiodna.media, or you can search Studio DNA, all one word, in your podcast player. Huge thanks to Andrew for hanging out.
Thank you, buddy.
Huge thanks to Phil for producing the show from the other
Phil.
room. Couldn't do it without him. Much love and gratitude to our SiftPop members for giving monthly to make SiftPop a real thing. Support starts at $3 a month, and you get access to every bonus episode, as well as some other fun perks. You can find out more at patreon.com/SiftPop. There are a lot of ways to connect with the podcast. Leave a comment, rate, or leave a review at Apple Podcasts or wherever you do your podcasting. Or you can email us, feedback@siftpop.com. I will let you know our feedback bag has gotten a little low. So if you want to send us on a Sift quest, let us know, feedback@siftpop.com. And finally, if you're having a good time, your movie-loving friends will probably like it too. So let them know about it, and that listening is much easier than surviving a bi-coastal marriage. We will be back next week for a little independent film called Star Wars.
Is that what's coming out?
Yeah.
I don't know if I've
War
heard.
of the Stars or something like that. So we'll see you next week for that.
Bye.
All right, YouTube. Thanks for hanging out with us. During the recording. Lots of good comments. Jeff Widman was hanging out with us. Gabriel was hanging out with us. Gabriel said, "I've got my saltine crackers in a room temperature glass of tap water. Let's do this." Oh, I love it. I love it so much. Jeff says, "Marriage Story is my number 1 right now. Probably one of my favorites of the decade overall. Honestly, resonated real deeply and had so many laughs." We didn't even talk about really the Marriage Story. Actually, is funny at times.
Funny, yeah.
There's some funny moments which you kind of need.
Yeah. With something that heavy, yeah.
Yeah. Jake says, "Who's hyped for Star Wars?" Matthew says, "So I guess that Aaron is still on his trailer embargo then." Yeah, I don't think that's changing, Matthew. I'm really enjoying not watching trailers. Let's see. Gillen was excellent in Oculus too. I don't know if I saw Oculus. Evan was asking about the fuzziness. Yeah, we're working on the focus issues on the YouTube show. Apologies for that. We are thinking about buying some new cameras. So if you're not a SiftPop member, now's a good time.
That's actually really funny. Whenever you pull up Karen Gillan, you know how on IMDb it gives you like a little bio, like,
sure,
do you mean this person from this thing? The first thing that pops up is selfie.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
It's because it's great.
Yeah.
Everybody should. I don't even know if it's anywhere. Rockman LP hanging out with us as well. Good to see you, Rockman. So thank you, everybody, for being with us. And if you watch this after the fact, after the live show, we are actually the next 2 weeks probably going to be mixing it up a little bit as far as times go. So, just pay attention, possibly to my Twitter feed, at Aaron Dicer, for when we go live. And then starting in 2020, we may have a new weekly live record time. We're going to work that out amongst us and figure out what time works for everybody. So
if I could show up on time, it wouldn't be an issue.
So we're going to figure all that out, but we appreciate you being here live or after the fact, and it's kind of cool. So yeah, I was looking at our SiftPops, and yeah, hundreds of people, hanging out on YouTube with us.
So cool.
So we appreciate it, and we just crossed 2,500 subscribers.
Woo!
On SiftPop. So
thank you, everybody.
We'll check you out next time.
Bye.
Bye.